We are approaching Mario's 40th anniversary celebration, and technically it's the year that we're in now, but the celebration normally doesn't start until around September. If we look back to the Mario 35th anniversary, that actually started on Thursday, September 3rd in 2020 and didn't end until Wednesday, March 31st, the year after in 2021. So naturally speaking, we're still about 4.5 months away until we inevitably get something for Mario's 40th anniversary. And I've seen a lot of people saying that we might not get anything, that Nintendo doesn't care about anniversaries, and that might be the case for other franchises, but for things like Mario, they've always cared about. I also feel like each anniversary they've been getting slightly better. For instance, the 25th anniversary, Nintendo released Super Mario Bros. Super Mario All-Stars, where pretty much it had 4 titles: Super Mario Bros., Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, Super Mario Bros. 2, and Super Mario Bros. 3. Where was Mario World? I don't know. Remember, this is Nintendo and they're strange and they always leave out one game. The 30th, they heavily advertised Super Mario Maker on the Wii U. This was a huge game that they pushed specifically for this anniversary. Now, maybe it just lined up that way perfectly for them, but I don't know. The amount of advertising and the, bricks that they built to spell out 30th and Mario figures and stuff to celebrate that anniversary was pretty significant. And even though we were during the terrible year of quarantine in 2020, Nintendo still delivered an awesome Super Mario Bros. 35th anniversary Direct to us, where we got a whole Nintendo Direct presentation dedicated to Mario's anniversary, where they showed off tons of things like a new Super Mario Bros. Game & Watch device. Mario 3D World was announced to finally be coming to Nintendo Switch, which would also offer a couple quality of life changes and a brand new game mode that actually was packed into this game called Bowser's Fury, which additionally acted like an extra game. A small one, but an extra game nevertheless. Mario Bros. 35 was announced, which was a battle royale for Mario Bros., where 35 players would interact with items and objects in order to interfere with other players, and the last one standing would win. They also announced Mario Kart Home Circuit, where you pretty much had an RC car of Mario Kart and could drive it around your house, set up your own track and obstacles. It was pretty neat, and once again, this was just another thing that was added to this giant Direct. They also announced tons of merch and items that you could purchase, and also Super Mario All-Stars, the original, coming to Nintendo Switch Online. And then of course they ended it in the best way possible by showing us Mario 3D All-Stars, giving us 64, Sunshine, and Galaxy all in one complete package, which seemed like a pipe dream at the time. Even though it was on a limited release until the end of the anniversary in March, it was still really cool to be able to have these games again on Nintendo Switch, and they all looked slightly better with some slight improvements, which was pretty cool. Now, we still were missing Galaxy 2, and to this day, we don't have Galaxy 2 on Nintendo Switch, but hopefully Switch 2 includes some type of Galaxy 2 game or some type of remake with extra content. It's hard to say. But either way, this was a crazy Direct. I mean, seriously, all the stuff was announced in one Mario Brothers dedicated Direct. But now we are on the precipice of a brand new anniversary. Can you believe it's already been 5 years since that Mario 35th Direct? It feels like it was literally yesterday. But yeah, we are approaching the 40th anniversary, which is even bigger and more of a square number this time around. That 40 is a huge deal, and I feel like Nintendo is really going to have something very special for this anniversary. Now, right off the bat, I'm going to say this. I do not think Nintendo is going to have a Nintendo Direct this time around. I don't. I think they're going to focus on the Switch 2 advertising first and foremost, and I feel like we're just going to have a normal Nintendo Direct when we get to the month of September. I could be wrong. There could still be a Mario 40th Direct showcasing tons of Mario stuff, but I feel like we're just gonna get Mario things that's going to be announced in the general Nintendo Direct, or a bunch of Twitter announcements for the smaller stuff, because I feel like the anniversary this year, very similar to the 30th, is gonna focus on a specific game. And of course, unless you've been hiding under a rock and never seen my channel, you know what I'm going to say here. I honestly don't know what other game could be marketed as Mario's 40th anniversary game, and the timing has never been more perfect than it is right now. It's still been about 7, almost 8 years since Super Mario Odyssey released back in 2017, so clearly Nintendo is getting ready to reveal this next 3D Mario. The question is when. I'm not predicting it anymore and predicting when this is going to come out or trying to give an exact when I think is going to happen, because every time I say it has to be here, it never is. I fully expected 3D Mario to be revealed in some capacity in the Switch 2 Direct, and clearly I was wrong, but I will say if Nintendo ends up pushing this game beyond 2026 for some reason, then I think they're in some serious trouble. Like, serious trouble, because it'd be the first 2 years of Nintendo Switch 2 and still no 3D Mario, which a lot of people are going to buy the console for this next 3D Mario game. So I'd be shocked if Nintendo didn't at least announce the game sometime this year. So yes, I think an announcement this year to celebrate this Mario's 40th anniversary and then advertise this game as the big 40th anniversary game will be massive for Nintendo. And to be completely honest with you, that's all they really need to do. I wouldn't even expect them to have a bunch of other games and stuff and remakes and remasters and tons of other products. If they literally just did what they did with Mario Maker and just said, hey, Mario's huge 3D, maybe even open world adventure is coming out at the beginning of next year or something like that. And if something like Mario Maker can be the big anniversary game, dude, the next 3D Mario game would be a perfect anniversary game, especially if it's a huge open world one like we're expecting to follow after the route of Bowser's Fury. But let's say Nintendo wants to be even more ambitious, or maybe give us a bunch of other smaller things. What else could we get? Now, Nintendo just recently shared this image on the Nintendo Switch Online app for no reason. They just said, hey, like, look at the Super Mario Galaxy 2 artwork. Like, that's great. How come we haven't been able to play the game since the Wii? So yeah, I'm actually hoping that Nintendo does allow us to play this. I know you could play it on the Wii U, and I think it may even had like a virtual console on the Wii U, but still, we need this on Switch and on Switch 2. Of course, we still haven't seen it since it was still cruelly left out of Mario 3D All-Stars, and it's a great game, if not better than the original Galaxy. I will still stand on that. Yeah, it's just more Galaxy greatness, and I'm just really confused as to why Nintendo would not allow this to be a thing on Nintendo Switch and not have a physical release or even a digital release. Maybe they're waiting for some type of Wii virtual console or something eventually, and this is going to be a big game for that, but I don't know. It just feels like they've been waiting way too long. If we have to wait until next year for the 3D Mario game, why not give us this in the time being for this year? Of course, with a brand new Nintendo Switch, we have to have a Mario sports game in the pipeline somewhere. The first one was Mario Tennis Aces for the Nintendo Switch that came out just about a year after the Switch release in the summer of 2018, so I would expect something around the beginning or middle of next year of a Mario sports title would make a lot of sense. Now, I definitely think it's time for something like basketball or baseball. I'd be very upset if they just repeated one of the sports that they've already done, like soccer, golf, or tennis again. I think it's time to change things up and give us something even new could be great, like American football or hockey or something that we just haven't seen yet. But I'm really holding out for baseball or basketball. I think would be great. I mean, I love Super Sluggers on the Wii, and I think it's a lot of people's favorite Mario sports title. It's definitely mine, so I'm really hoping that they pull through and give us another Mario baseball here soon. Mario Kart World is coming out in about 20 days, which is crazy to even think about, but by the time we get into the anniversary, it'll be the end of this year, and I feel like Nintendo will probably be losing some of that hype for this game. The best way to continue hype, of course, is updates, and I feel like Nintendo will announce a lot of updates, hopefully a lot of free updates coming to Mario Kart World, adding more costumes, maybe a couple more characters, and then eventually, I don't know if they're going to handle this as DLC or something, but announce, you know, some DLC tracks and other characters from Nintendo franchises to be joining the fray like they did on Mario Kart 8 and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, like Link, Zelda, maybe Olimar from Pikmin, Kirby, Samus. They might just do something like smaller, kind of like they did with the original Mario Kart 8, like announce, hey, tournament mode is returning back for online, and, you know, we're hosting a very, you know, special 40th anniversary tournament for you to join in Mario Kart World. So it's something that they'll probably do and just give us some Mario Kart World updates, which I definitely would enjoy. Another game we could talk about is Mario Maker. Again, like we did with the 30th anniversary, but this time it'd be Mario Maker 3 or hopefully Mario Maker 3D, which would be just as good as well. Mario Maker is a huge franchise for Nintendo and might not have sold as crazy as maybe they were hoping, but it's still very new and fresh for a lot of people. So I'm actually really thinking that the best way to get the sales that Nintendo may want for this game is to simply make this a Mario 3D Maker, and that's exactly why I don't think Mario Maker 3D will be announced anytime soon, because it's going to coincide with a 3D Mario and maybe with 3D Donkey Kong, and yeah, there's just too much going on there. So they might want to push this off and wait a couple years and have this be like a big game of 2027 or even 2028. So yeah, I don't think that's going to be announced for Mario's anniversary, but I just wanted to bring up the fact that it is 6 years now, and this is a big franchise for Nintendo. Now, this is one that I'm very confident in. I don't know what it is, but I feel strong about this one. I feel like Luigi's Mansion 4 is literally right around the corner, and in fact, I think it could still even be a big holiday game for this year. When I was trying to dissect and figure out what Nintendo could be releasing as a huge title for Switch 2 for the holiday, this is really all I can think of. I really want it to be 3D Mario, but I just don't think it's going to happen this year. And I feel like Luigi's Mansion might be the perfect alternative. It gives you a style of game that we don't have in any of the catalog lineup right now, kind of a 3D puzzler, ghost-catching adventure that can really show the power behind Switch 2 and the graphics and everything, because Luigi's Mansion 3 was already one of the best-looking Nintendo games ever. Luigi's Mansion 4 surely is in the cards early for Nintendo's Switch 2, and I'd be very shocked if it wasn't at the end of this year or sometime in the first half of next year, especially considering the fact, just like Mario Maker 2, it's been 6 years, and I think we're definitely due for the next installment for Luigi's Mansion. So hopefully Next Level Games is hard at work at this game and is getting ready to release soon, and just because it's Mario's 40th anniversary doesn't mean Luigi can't be included, because we know Mario's in every single Luigi's Mansion as the kind of damsel in distress, so it doesn't really matter. This could definitely be an anniversary celebration game that could release later this year as the big holiday title. If you also want to stretch it to some of the other outer Mario Universe characters, there's a lot more as well. Captain Toad hasn't had a game since the Wii U, which it did get a remake on the 3DS and the Switch, but I think it's time for a new Captain Toad. I'm very confused as to why this game got so many remakes. Like, just make a new one, Nintendo. Yes, put a new Captain Toad out with bigger, wider worlds to explore and just more moveset potential and items for Captain Toad, really fleshing this out into a full-fledged game with tons of content. I think would be great. This is something that I actually really do see happening. Maybe not this year, but something year 2 sounds just about right for Captain Toad to make a big return. And rumor is right now that Yoshi's Woolly World is going to be coming to Nintendo Switch, which is the first game of the kind of arts and craft vibe of Yoshi games. We just had Crafted World on the Switch, which I wasn't a huge fan of compared to Woolly World, so that does excite me, but does that also mean we could get some type of new Yoshi game added as well eventually? Maybe. I have a theory that they're doing something very similar to Donkey Kong, where we had Donkey Kong Country Returns HD actually come out on Nintendo Switch, and then we had the 3D Donkey Kong of DK Bonanza announced a couple months later. So maybe we get something similar with Yoshi's Woolly World announced, and then next year, or maybe even in 2027, we get Yoshi's 3D Island or something like that, or Yoshi's Woolly 3D World, giving us our first 3D Yoshi experience, which we haven't gotten yet, which would be super exciting. As bad as I want the next Mario RPG, I don't think it's time for any of them yet. We just got a new Mario & Luigi game with Brothership. Mario RPG is almost 2 years old, which I would love to see a new Mario RPG. I don't know if the team's already been working on another one at the same time. They probably wanted to wait and see how sales were, so we probably won't see anything with that anytime soon. So the only thing that I can think of is maybe something with Paper Mario, and even that might be a stretch. Now, the last original Paper Mario game was Origami King, and that was in 2020, so if it wasn't for the Thousand Year Door remake, it would be time for another Paper Mario game. But we did get Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door remake, thankfully. It was kind of a double-edged sword, because now we probably have to wait a long time for the next original Paper Mario game, because the team remade the Thousand Year Door from the ground up. So Intelligent Systems is probably going to need another 4 to 5 years to develop a brand new game, maybe in the same style of Thousand Year Door. That would be so amazing, literally a dream come true, but we're probably going to have to wait a while until we see something like this. Then we have the Mario movie, which I believe is set to be released at the beginning of April next year. So Nintendo's going to want to start talking about this thing very, very soon. And the recent leak has shown that this is probably going to be called Super Mario World, the movie, which is pretty interesting, and we've already made some theories and some videos about that. But yeah, this might be another big part of their anniversary celebration, having a big 3D Mario and having a big trailer for the next movie, which is releasing right outside of that anniversary time frame. But either way, I think a new 3D Mario and the movie coming alongside each other is just going to be beautiful marketing on top of the 40th anniversary. There's no way that Nintendo can mess this one up. So with Mario Kart World starting this anniversary celebration, literally coming out in about a month, what else do you think Nintendo is going to do for Mario's 40th anniversary? It's a pretty big anniversary, the big 40. So let me know in the comments down below what you're predicting from Nintendo, and what do you want to see the most? What Mario release would make you the happiest? But thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe before you head out. And like always, I hope you all have a blessed day, and I'll see you all on the next one. See ya, guys.